And perhaps the toughest of all martial arts, we find out how pankration is enjoying a modern-day revival. And now welcome to possibly the most brutal and tough action you've ever seen. The ancient Greek martial art of pankration, combining both wrestling and hand-to-hand fighting techniques. It's now close to worldwide revival. RT's Robert Vardanyan has more about the sport that used to be an Olympic event more than 2,000 years ago.
Blood, sweat and courage. It looks just as simple as that. The best way to settle scores for two unarmed warriors. The sport called pанкратион was brought into the Olympic program in 648 BC in ancient Greece. But when the modern games were established, it was the only sport to be left out of the Olympic program for being regarded as violent and dangerous. But now it's gaining more and more popularity both in Russia and around the world as the most efficient and universal martial art humans ever developed.
Pankration is simply a blend of wrestling and hand-to-hand fighting. At first they held the competition separately in ancient Greece. The point is that athletes often tried to hit their opponent while wrestling or use grips and throws while boxing. So they finally decided to put the techniques together in order to give birth to an ultimate fighting art. That's how pankration turned up.
Just as simple as it is genius. Some would say it's just a no-rules fight, but the truth is pankration has strict regulations. No hitting in the neck and spinal cord areas, no elbow, knee or foot kicks when the opponent is taken down to the ground. And no rest for the fighters within the 5 minutes they have to prove their fighting skills.
Combat Sambo is definitely the closest discipline to pankration. Unlike most of the other kinds of martial arts, it has everything you need to succeed in a mixed fight. Kicking, punching, knee and elbow hits, wrestling. Elsewhere, pankration and combat Sambo are the only disciplines to pay such a lot of attention to ground wrestling.
Unlike many of his sport mates, Artem Stepanyan mostly counts on his hand-to-hand fighting skills, gained in the Russian army. After winning another fight, the 23-year-old discloses to us something that's hidden behind the cold eyes of a warrior.
We're all humans. It's hard to feel calm before the fight, but when it started, you need to leave it all behind and act like a combat machine.
Despite being off the Olympic list, pankration may soon take another step towards its global recognition. And has many supporters on the way.
Pankration is not on the Olympic program yet, but it will be an exhibition event at the upcoming Games in 2012. And it's only the beginning. I'm sure we've already come to the point where a mixed martial art has to become an Olympic sport, no matter what we could call it. We're really doing our best to make this come true.
It's regarded as brutal and violent. It hurts and takes a fighter to find the very limit of his skills and abilities, both physical and mental. But there is one more thing about pankration that cannot be left out. With the background of corruption and match-fixing widespread in the world of professional sport, here is a sport that remains fair and seemingly impossible to rig. Robert Vardanyan, RT, Moscow.
Okay, you're up to date. There will be more sport coming your way in 2 hours' time. Stay around for the world weather, though. That's next.